talk about spending more money on nuclear energy, what we're really talking about here is a matter of people opposed to it for public safety reasons and people for it for economic reasons and for long-term aggregate supply of energy reasons. So let's contrast those concepts. But first, let's do some work on the link. I'm talking about the spectre. Part 1 is the prologue. Chapter 1 is the spectre. 1. The resolution reaffirms the life-death dichotomy. And so this is why you're going to be affirming. And I'll explain this in detail. So when you argue on the basis of safety, on the basis of radiation is going to kill people, on the basis of whatever problems you have with like the toxicity of nuclear energy, that argument is predicated on the point that we have to avoid death, right? Like that's the ontological prison that you're boxing yourself into. So that's why Bostrom writes that the ghosts of the past are the dead of the present. They are the anachronistic apparitions excluded and ignored from discussions in politics, from economic engagement to war. It's through this ambivalence towards these specters that we fail to see the power they hold over discourse. They whisper in our ears and guide us through our everyday actions. The entirety of our subconscious is haunted by them, but the negative is a re-examination and intersubjectivity of politics through acceptance and trade with these specters. So the point that's being made there is when you fail, or when you continue to perpetuate the argument that death is bad and that we should avoid it at all costs, what that does is that stops you from being happy in the long run. And so then that's explained by Johnson 7. A fundamentally political question. How does one negotiate both the intersubjectivity of those present and those that are neither wholly present nor absent? The dead leave a trace on our lives. Experiences with them actively influence the configurations in which we understand subjectivity. Ghost remainders of the past are not the past, but instead haunt the present and influence the future. And the point that's being made there is, take for example the example of Martin Luther King. So Martin Luther King is dead. He's been dead for a while. But we base our actions off of some of the things that Martin Luther King brought to the table and the concept of Martin Luther King. So in that way, that ghost or specter lives on and influences us. But when you tell people that for public health reasons, or for like lack of a better terminology, when you are scared of the life-death dichotomy, you run the risk of rejecting the existence of that specter's creation. So at that point, what that means is you are forcing yourself into a position that not only does not allow you to be free from the ontological prison, but also forces you to be unhappy, constantly trying to promote and prolong your own life, but not actually getting to the root of it. This is further explained by Bostrom. Derrida suggests that the spectre forces us to replace ontology with a hauntology. It is this nature of ghosts that haunt the present, without ever wholly becoming part of the present. They are waste products to blind spots and have escaped the dialect. What transcends society did not properly fit into the laws of historical movement. So our memories are this type of propaganda with these ghosts. They're fluid within the realm of our subconscious. So while you may not be aware that these specters exist, or aware that these kind of things that haunt you are present, they exist on the subconscious level, even if you're not consciously processing it. This is further explained by our first warrant, Derrida 94. Life is inherently meaningless. To live is not something we achieve from life. It is the dead who have lived, while the lived remain dead. So, this is explained in our card. To live is not something that one learns, but is simply learned and taught through life. Only by being dead is it ethical to be oneself. Life does not know how to live. It has no sense. And learning to live can only happen between life and death. What happens between the two can only maintain itself in some form of a ghost. So the point that's being made in that card is that when you take the example, go back to Martin Luther King, extend the Martin Luther King evidence, extend Bostrom, the point that's being made is that when those people are dead, that is what life is about. It's about that imprint that you leave on society. It's what your specter leaves behind even after you physically have passed on. And so the arguments that I'm anticipating to be made on the negative side in today's debate, largely predicated about public health care and the fact that radiation can kill people or that a nuclear meltdown could kill people, those are all ones that continue to reaffirm the notion that the life-death dichotomy is something that needs to be avoided at all costs. So, for those reasons, I urge you to vote affirmative, reject the life-death dichotomy, and embrace the specter.